You know that moment when you feel completely certain you've found your soulmate. When every part of you recognizes a connection that goes beyond anything you've ever experienced. And then, just when you're closest to truly coming together, they pull away. This isn't a normal separation. It feels as if the universe briefly revealed paradise, only to shut the door in front of you. But Carl Jung suggested this isn't coincidence or simple misfortune. It reflects the karmic cycle of love, an unavoidable pattern where the deepest breakdown often comes before the union of truly compatible souls. In fact, the more intense the separation you're facing right now, the more powerful the union being prepared may be. That's why it's important to stay until the end. Because here you'll uncover how to decode this karmic cycle of love and recognize the clearest sign that this collapse is about to transform into an extraordinary union between two souls on this physical plane. Carl Jung observed that when two genuinely compatible souls meet, when there is a true recognition beyond social masks and constructed identities, they cannot simply unite on the surface level where they first interact. Instead, they are drawn by forces beyond conscious control into what Jung called the alchemical nigredo, a phase of complete breakdown. This stage dissolves everything inauthentic between them, making space for a rebirth into a state where a conscious and lasting union becomes possible. The difficulty is that most people, when they encounter this process of mutual breakdown, misread the pain and confusion. Should they assume the connection is unhealthy, that they made a wrong choice, or that they should pursue something easier and more peaceful. As a result, they walk away at the exact point where deeper intimacy and connection were about to emerge, levels they didn't even know could exist. Jung noted that the real tragedy isn't failing to find true love, but finding it and lacking the courage to accept the transformation it requires. And that transformation always asks for the same thing: letting go of every version of yourself that cannot support a conscious union with another fully developed soul. This is also where many people misunderstand the idea of a twin flame. They expect it to feel like finding a missing piece, something that fits perfectly and resolves emotional struggles. But Jung's insight points in the opposite direction. Meeting your truly compatible soul acts more like a catalyst, accelerating every inner change you've been avoiding for years. It's as if life is saying, now that you've found each other, there is no more avoiding who you truly are. And this process can feel intense, even painful, because much of your identity has been built on adapting to expectations rather than authenticity. One of the clearest signs you've met a truly compatible soul is that their presence makes it impossible to keep pretending. You may try to maintain your usual roles, habits, and emotional defenses, but they seem to see through them effortlessly. Their authenticity challenges you to face what is not genuine within yourself. Jung described this as the projection of anima and animus, seeing parts of your own inner world reflected in another person that you have not yet integrated. With truly compatible souls, this reflection happens both ways at the same time, turning each of you into a mirror of the other's deeper struggles. Because of this, they may awaken emotions in you that feel unfamiliar: anger, fear, or vulnerability you didn't know you carried. Not because they intend harm, but because their presence touches unresolved parts of you. In the same way, your openness can trigger insecurities in them that they believed they had already resolved. During this early phase of recognition and shared deconstruction, you might experience moments of connection so profound they seem to go beyond time and space, followed by conflicts so intense that you question everything. Jung understood that these extremes don't signal incompatibility. Instead, They show that you're engaging with deeper layers of the psyche rarely accessed in ordinary relationships. When relationships remain at the level of personality and social roles, they can feel stable but limited. But when two souls connect beyond those layers, they are drawn into a process that requires confronting hidden aspects of themselves, the shadow parts they would rather ignore. Naturally, this process feels unstable and demanding. Another sign that you're moving through this karmic cycle is that your conflicts are not about surface-level issues like money, plans, or opinions. Instead, they revolve around deeper questions: how you deal with vulnerability, how you respond to fear, how you avoid intimacy when it becomes overwhelming, or how you unconsciously disrupt your own happiness. Jung observed that such connections turn into living laboratories, where unresolved patterns, past wounds, and unprocessed experiences come forward rapidly and intensely. You may notice reactions in yourself that surprise you, or emotional intensity far beyond anything you felt in other relationships. This happens because, according to Jung, compatible souls connect at a level that bypasses normal psychological defenses. In everyday relationships, you can control what you reveal and what you hide. But here, there is a kind of openness that makes those defenses difficult to maintain. It can feel as though the other person has direct access to your inner world. This experience can be freeing because you can finally be real, but also unsettling because it leaves no place to hide from the parts of yourself you haven't fully accepted. During this period of breakdown, something Jung considered essential for any genuine union, you may go through stages where everything feels like it's collapsing. The idealized expectations of love begin to fade as you face the reality of two imperfect individuals trying to build something real. The projections you placed on each other dissolve, revealing human limitations, unresolved wounds, and complexities that no relationship can completely fix. This is often the point where people give up, mistaking the end of fantasy for the end of love. In reality, Jung argued the opposite. Real love begins only after illusions fade. It starts when you stop loving an imagined version of someone and begin to accept them as they truly are, with all their contradictions. Yet one of Jung's most surprising observations is this: when two souls are genuinely compatible, when the connection goes beyond illusion, they cannot separate permanently. Even when the intensity becomes overwhelming, there remains a force that continues to draw them back together, beyond conscious choice. A recognition that goes beyond surface challenges and continues to exist even when both people believe the connection is lost. Carl Jung observed that truly compatible couples may experience temporary separations during this process of mutual transformation. They may even enter other relationships in search of something simpler, yet they often realize that no other bond provides the same depth, authenticity, and opportunity for growth that they share with each other. The third sign that you are moving through the karmic cycle of compatible souls is that, even in separation, even after deciding the relationship is too complex, you continue evolving in ways clearly shaped by the time you spent together. Jung referred to this as individuation through encounter. The experience of deeply knowing another person can significantly accelerate your own self-awareness and personal growth. You may notice greater courage in being authentic, a stronger ability to handle emotional complexity, and a more mature, less possessive approach to love. At the same time, they may be undergoing similar changes, becoming more self-aware, more integrated, and more capable of real intimacy. Jung understood that when two souls are genuinely compatible, they continue to influence each other's development even from a distance, without direct contact, and even when they believe the connection has ended. An energetic resonance remains, encouraging growth in both individuals until they reach the maturity required to reconnect in a more conscious and evolved way. It can feel as though a kind of timing mechanism is in place, preventing reunion until both individuals have completed the inner work needed to sustain the union they once sensed was possible. Jung didn't only describe this theoretically, he also experienced it personally. When he met Emma Jung, who later became his lifelong partner, they went through a period of intense emotional conflict that nearly led to permanent separation. She challenged his beliefs and broke down his psychological defenses and pushed him to confront parts of his shadow he preferred to ignore. In turn, he triggered similar struggles in her, testing her patience and emotional limits. Only when both stopped resisting this process, accepting the need to let go of who they were at the beginning, did they discover the possibility of a deeper form of love, one that goes beyond the limits of conventional relationships. Jung saw this pattern not as dysfunction, but as a necessary process. When two souls recognize each other at a deep level, they cannot remain comfortably on the surface, because each reflects what the other must transform to fully become themselves. During this stage of apparent separation, which Jung considered the most critical phase of the karmic cycle, life tends to guide each person through experiences that directly address the unresolved issues revealed in the relationship. You may encounter situations that push you to develop qualities they once pointed out. Likewise, they may begin working on the very traits you saw as limiting in them. It's as though the process of transformation continues individually, preparing both of you for a future reunion at a higher level of awareness. The fourth sign of this karmic cycle is that, during your individual growth, you begin to understand and appreciate aspects of each other that once caused confusion or frustration. Jung noted that when compatible souls separate to focus on their inner development, they often gain a deeper sense of compassion. This happens because they begin to recognize in themselves the same patterns they once noticed in the other. You may realize that something about them that once bothered you was actually reflecting an unacknowledged part of yourself. Similarly, they may come to value qualities in you that they once misunderstood, especially after developing those same qualities through their own life experiences. Jung found that this shift in perspective, gained through direct experience, is essential for a stable reunion. When you are deeply involved in emotional conflict with another person, it is difficult to maintain the clarity and compassion needed for growth. However, when life leads you through similar challenges on your own, you develop a more grounded understanding of how difficult real change can be. You begin to see that everyone carries shadow aspects, and that meaningful growth requires time, patience, and self-acceptance. During this phase, your connection may also begin to change. It becomes less about control or need, and more about genuine care and recognition. Jung explained that possessive love is driven by the ego's desire to control, while love between individuated individuals moves beyond dependency and becomes a form of mutual respect. In this state, you value the other person, not for what they provide, but for who they truly are. You may find yourself thinking of them with greater calm and less emotional tension. You may genuinely wish for their happiness, even if it doesn't involve you. Your sense of well-being becomes more independent. Yet the idea of sharing life with them feels even more meaningful, precisely because it is no longer driven by need. The fifth sign that the karmic cycle is nearing completion is the emergence of recurring dreams, meaningful coincidences, and a growing sense that something in your connection is shifting. Jung studied the role of the collective unconscious and suggested that deeply compatible individuals remain connected at a psychological level, beyond physical distance or direct communication. During this final phase of personal growth, this unconscious connection can become more noticeable. You may begin to dream about them more often, and these dreams may feel more vivid and significant than usual, leaving a lasting impression. Jung believed such dreams are not merely reflections of desire, but expressions of deeper communication between individuals connected at the level of the psyche. They may serve as a form of preparation, helping both individuals integrate their personal growth and align for a possible reunion at a higher level of awareness. At the same time, synchronicities tend to increase. Jung defined synchronicity as meaningful coincidences that point to a deeper relationship between events that appear unrelated on the surface. And within the context of compatible souls, these synchronicities can become so frequent and precise that they are difficult to ignore. You may come across reminders of them in unexpected places, receive messages that seem indirectly connected to them through others or situations, or notice repeating symbols, numbers, or words linked to your relationship. Carl Jung viewed these synchronicities not as random events, but as indications of guidance from forces beyond individual awareness, gradually preparing the path for a reunion that unfolds at the right time. One of the most important insights Jung offered about the end of the karmic cycle is that reunion never occurs through force or control. It emerges naturally when both individuals reach the level of maturity required. Often it happens in ways neither person could have predicted. Jung observed that attempts to rush or manipulate this process usually lead to further distance, because they suggest that at least one person has not yet completed the inner work needed for a stable and conscious union. The true reunion takes place when both individuals once again become strongly drawn to each other, but this time on a more developed level than before. When this happens, Jung noted that it feels clearly different from earlier interactions. The urgency, emotional dependence, and unresolved projections that defined earlier stages are no longer present. Instead, there is a calm recognition, a steady sense of peace beyond initial excitement, and a quiet confidence that something lasting can now be created together. Jung referred to this as the hieros gamos, a sacred union where two individuated individuals come together consciously, maintaining their individuality while forming something greater as a whole. The sixth sign that the karmic cycle is complete and that a conscious union is possible is the ability to openly discuss the issues that once caused conflict, now with understanding, balance, and even lightness. Jung observed that couples who move through this full process develop a shared emotional awareness, an intuitive sense of each other's patterns, and the ability to handle challenges constructively rather than destructively. You may find that you can reflect on past struggles without being overwhelmed by them, speak about earlier wounds without reopening them, and accept each other's limitations without trying to control or change them. During this final stage of integration, you might also discover a shared interest in creative or meaningful work, something that extends beyond the relationship itself and connects you to a larger purpose. Jung believed that compatible souls come together not only for personal growth, but also to contribute in unique ways to a broader collective evolution. This contribution can take many forms, including creative projects, healing efforts, social initiatives, building a family, or any shared expression that combines your strengths into something meaningful beyond yourselves. Perhaps the clearest sign that the karmic cycle has been completed is a sense of stability and peace in the relationship that does not depend on external conditions. Jung explained that relationships based on emotional need are easily affected by circumstances, while those rooted in deeper recognition create their own internal balance. Challenges may still arise, and disagreements may occur, but the foundation of the relationship remains steady and unaffected by temporary changes. It reflects a form of connection that grows stronger through challenges rather than being weakened by them. Jung also noted that couples who complete this cycle often develop a form of communication that goes beyond words. There is an ability to understand each other's emotional state even at a distance, and to communicate through simple gestures, expressions, or silence in ways that others may not fully understand. This connection is not based on dependency, but on a deep alignment developed through shared growth and self-awareness. Over time, it becomes like a private language that allows complex understanding without the need for lengthy explanations. Finally, Jung emphasized that when two individuals reunite after completing this transformative cycle, their connection extends beyond personal fulfillment. They often become examples for others who are going through similar experiences. According to Jung, each couple that consciously moves from breakdown to union demonstrates that it is possible to move beyond the limits of conventional relationships. Their connection reflects a level of depth that can inspire others to continue their own process, especially during the most difficult stages. If you have followed this entire discussion and recognized elements of your own experience, Jung would suggest that this is not accidental. It may indicate that you are ready to understand that what feels like a collapse is not failure, but preparation for a deeper form of connection. If you are currently in a phase of separation, focus on your individual growth. If you are in the stage of emotional challenge, continue the inner work rather than seeking easier alternatives. And if you feel that a reunion may be approaching, allow it to unfold naturally without trying to control its timing. If you want to move beyond understanding and begin applying this transformation in a practical way, there are structured approaches inspired by Jung's work that focus on self-awareness and personal development. These can help you stay grounded, especially during periods that feel uncertain or intense. Before closing, consider this. If you've stayed until this point, reflect on whether you trust the process you're going through. Because reaching this stage suggests a willingness to see challenges not as endings, but as part of a larger transformation that can lead to a more meaningful and stable connection.